Saya tidak berhajat mengulangi kerangka ekonomi madani. Tan Sri Soh tadi memberikan penjelasan dan beberapa cadangan baru termasuk dalam soal transisi tenaga, energy transition ataupun transformasi digital, digital transformation, soal food security, security makanan, dan isu-isu ini atau dasar-dasar ini merupakan keutamaan kita. Dan seperti mana juga dalam bidang lain, kejayaannya itu terletak pada tingkat dukungan sektor swasta. Ya. Jadi kita dalam kerajaan memberi kerangka, bergerak secepat mungkin, memperbaiki kelemahan-kelemahan yang ada, memastikan kelulusan itu di tahap yang lebih cepat dan pantas, dan mendengar pandangan-pandangan dan melakukan penyesuaian di mana perlu supaya program-program itu berjalan lancar. Itu peranan kerajaan. Peran swasta selain diberi pandangan ialah memberi dukungan dan galakan serta keyakinan yang menyebabkan pelaburan itu meningkat. It is true that we have seen phenomenal growth in terms of investments, foreign and domestic. But I have always emphasized the need and recognition to the efforts of our domestic partners that without the link and the ecosystem built by our domestic enterprise, it would be difficult to encourage foreign investments into Malaysia. So your role is quite pertinent and critical to ensure the success of our economy, Badani. And I believe that with your input, which we will have to take into serious consideration, where possible, will be incorporated. And I have studied some of your proposals for the incoming budget in October, and I'm sure some of your concerns will be addressed. Of course, I reserve the right to disagree with some, otherwise you may feel that you are much smarter than us, so I wouldn't would probably accept most of the proposals and suggestions, and again to emphasize the need to make the adjustments required. And I've always emphasized, my cabinet colleagues would, of course, agree with me that whilst we would like to encourage the active participation of the private sector, we in the government must be able to respond positively and fast with a speed which is unprecedented. And as I have reiterated, and I would like to reiterate now, that in the post-normal times, in the times of chaos and complexity and full of contradictions, the pace, the speed is essential. Otherwise, you talk about digital transformation, but the speed is the speed of the 60s or the 70s. Like the song Sway, you see? Yeah. You can guess our age when you start appreciating such songs. Now, so it is also a challenge to the government. That's why when you mention the need to set up or formulate new policies, and even setting up, forming the Royal Commission, Suruhanjaya Commission, GIG or TVET, it is something that, of course, we have considered. The cabinet has agreed in principle, because the new format will ensure that we conduct these new challenging activities in a different manner. And this is, of course, a challenge during post-normal times. You can't depend solely on one sector, or the government sector, or the private sector, but we will have to work in synergy together to be able to ensure that these programs succeed. In some ways, yes, we have succeeded, and I thank you to Tan Sri So, who have identified these areas of success. But in all humility, I must acknowledge that there are many flaws that need to be adjusted and corrected. And this is something that we in the government and in the private sector must equally accept. There are areas that the private sector seems to be rather lackadaisical and slow in making the adjustments. Similarly, the government must face the challenge in order to affect change and to propel the economy in the speed that is required to be more competitive and succeed in our policies, plans. Then we cannot proceed at the pace that we were used to before. And that's why you see in every single meeting, cabinet, post-cabinet, various deliberations with the government agencies and departments, you cannot expect us to succeed and achieve these impressive targets if we conduct the business of government and the private sector in the old, obsolete ways. And this is a challenge that we must recognize. And I think this series of conversations, dialogues between ministries and the private sector would certainly assist and ensure that we succeed. And I have great expectations, great hope, not only in the government services, but more so in the private sector. And I would clearly appeal for your continued support and engagement through research, through your experience, through your suggestions, how to work together as a team to make Malaysia as a successful nation in this part of the world. We have the capacity, we have the resources, we have lost some time, yes, but then we should be able to climb up the ladder at a pace that has been unprecedented and at a pace that could be decisive in ensuring success for our country. This is for the future of this nation. Yes, Tan Sri So politically is stable, but stability is for what? Stability is not for us to be complacent or to be lulled into complacency. No, stability is for us to use the opportunity to effect change, to undertake institutional reforms, to even implement somewhat unpopular policies, but which is important to secure or to ensure the success of our country. The unpopular policies include, for example, electricity tariff, which is not too popular with some of you, or the recent diesel rationalization. But it has to be done. We cannot assume that we can succeed if we are not able to take some tough measures that's rational economically, difficult politically, but in order to save the nation and to avoid leakages that we have seen by the billions, we cannot be able to manage our country well and still they use the term, the nomenclature, good governance. So we will continue, and I must thank my colleagues, their preparedness to work together as a team, and to NCCIM, and generally the private sector, for your understanding. And please be assured that we will do whatever is necessary to make Malaysia, to ensure that Malaysia succeed and emerge as a great nation in this part of the world. So terima kasih sekali lagi kepada rakan-rakan.